Welcome back to Christian Questions on News Talk 104.7 WXLM. Our subject this morning, whose sins did Jesus die for? To be a part of our program, call 860-442-9956. That's 442-WXLM.
And Jonathan, we're going through the book of Hebrews. We're touching on different chapters. We won't go through the whole book, obviously, but we're just trying to get a sense of how the Apostle Paul was helping the Hebrew Christians to understand the importance of moving forward now that they were Christian. He was telling them, don't stay with what you had. Take what was there, use it as a foundation to build upon, but a lot of it has to be left behind. And so he's laying out the case for Jesus as the centerpiece of everything. And we just read Hebrews 2:14 along those lines. Let's jump down 3 verses and read Hebrews 2:17.
Wherefore it behooved him in all things to be made like unto his brethren, that he might become a merciful and faithful high priest in things pertaining to God, to make propitiation for the sins of the people.
Okay, so it behooved him to be made like unto his brethren. Okay,
man.
He was like his brethren, to become a merciful. Why? Why was he made that way? To become a merciful and faithful high priest. And I think that's important, because the idea of a high priest, now the Jews knew all about the high priest.
Aaron.
Right, and the high priest was the centerpiece, actually, of their spiritual worship.
Mm-hmm.
Everything was done through the high priest. And it says that he is supposed to make propitiation for the sins of the people. Now, wait a minute. What is a propitiation anyway?
That Greek word is Strong's number 2433. It means to atone for. To atone for.
Now, when you think about that, if you are of Jewish descent and you hear the word atone, what do you think of?
The Atonement Day sacrifices.
Which were given by the high priest,
right,
on behalf of
the people,
to make them acceptable in God's sight.
Right.
So
right.
That's right. It was atoning for. So what the apostle is saying here is Jesus became this merciful and faithful high priest to make atonement for the sins of the people. And they would understand that language.
Oh, for sure.
Because the high priest, that's what he was supposed to do. That was his job description, to atone for the sins of the people. So you have a clear parallel from the high priest of the Old Testament to Jesus as the high priest, making this atonement. Now, he's going to develop that even further as we go on. Let's jump now to chapter 3, because now the apostle takes a slightly different tack and now compares Jesus and his faithfulness to Moses.
Verses 1 and 2. Therefore, brothers and sisters, holy partners in a heavenly calling, consider that Jesus, the apostle and high priest of our confession, was faithful to the one who appointed him, just as Moses also was faithful in all God's house.
So he's comparing the two, saying Moses, faithful in all God's house. Jesus, faithful to the calling that he was given. Now notice something. It says, brothers and sisters, holy partners in a heavenly calling.
Mm-hmm.
Where in the Old Testament do you see that?
The promise to Abraham, the stars of heaven.
Okay, so you have that allusion to it, but for the most part, the Jewish nation didn't follow after this heavenly calling.
That's right.
There was an earthly blessing. You have that one little allusion that talks about this heavenly calling, but this was something that was very different in terms of being the centerpiece of thinking. They weren't focused on a heavenly calling. They were focused on earthly things. And if you look at the way the law was structured, it was all about earthly stuff. If you look at the way Christianity is structured, it's all about heavenly stuff. It's a paradigm shift. And he's saying that Moses was faithful in bringing the law and the structure by which to be acceptable to God, to the people earthly. He says, but we have a heavenly calling, and Jesus is the apostle and high priest of our confession, of our calling. So he's saying there's a similarity, but there's also a dramatic difference. Jesus was faithful just as Moses was faithful. Both were deliverers. Both were mouthpieces of God. Now, Moses himself realized that he was just a part of something much bigger than himself. Mm-hmm. And he said so in Deuteronomy 18:14 and 15.
For these nations which thou shalt possess, hearken unto observances observers of times, and unto diviners. But as for thee, the Lord thy God hath not suffered thee so to do. The Lord thy God will raise up unto thee a prophet from the midst of thee, of thy brethren, like unto me. Unto him ye shall hearken.
Okay, so he is prophesying that there will come one like him, a deliverer. And unto him you will hearken. So he's saying that he realizes that there's something even greater than he. Now Moses is considered the greatest deliverer in Jewish history.
That's right.
But yet he's saying there's a greater prophet than even me. So the apostle is drawing all these things into order and saying there is a difference, that paradigm shift.
Sounds like a relay race, and Moses is handing the baton over to Jesus.
And you've got the last leg of that race now.
Yes.
And so you've had that leadership position passed on and on and on, and Jesus takes it home to and wins in such a grand fashion that all the families of the earth actually are to be blessed. Now, let's continue Hebrews chapter 3, verses 3 and 4.
Yet Jesus is worthy of more glory than Moses, just as the builder of a house has more honor than the house itself. For every house is built by someone, but the builder of all things is God.
So now, remember, the Jewish Christians would have had the highest of respect for Moses.
Mm-hmm.
And he is saying now, the apostle is saying to them, realize that Jesus is worthy of more glory because he accomplished much more than Moses ever was capable of accomplishing. And now in the next verses, Hebrews 3, verses 5 and 6, there is one of those, in my mind, Jonathan, this is one of those scriptures that helps us to really get the understanding of what's happening here.
Now Moses was faithful in all God's house as a servant to testify to the things that would be spoken later. Christ, however, was faithful over God's house as a son, and we are his house if we hold firm the confidence and the pride that belong to hope.
So, Moses was a